Custom fields are one of the most useful areas of Accelo, but also sometimes one of the most underutilized because clients get confused about where and when to use them and how to access the appropriate configuration. So without turning this into hours of in-depth discussion, I'm going to show just a few of the important points to consider when setting up custom fields, and also a few tips and tricks. So everything relating to custom field lives in the configuration area. If you can't see that option, it likely means that you don't have access on your user settings. When you go into a module, so for example, here I'm going to go into my sales module, there is a custom profile fields area here, or if you go into your sales types, there's also a custom fields area at the top of the screen. Now, another important note here is that this level of customization requires being on a particular plan with Accelo, the higher PSA plan. If you can't see the ability to add these fields and progressions, you may need to speak to Accelo directly. So the custom fields area in the types is used where you want to have a custom field only on that type of sale. So for example, here on this sale, I'm capturing what product is the customer interested in and some key dates of information as well. The custom profile fields are used in a case where you may want a field to go across different modules. So for example, if you capture information in your sales process that you then want to use when it becomes a project of work. So for example here, let's add this profile field. And I'll say at this point that I will want to know the number of licenses that a customer will need in their sale and also in their project of work. Based on that, it's going to be an integer. So it's going to be a number, a whole number above 0. I don't need to show this when I create a sale. In almost all cases, you will want the fields to be exclusive. What that does is it means that you only have one value per sale. So obviously when you enter the field in a sale, maybe the sale has 10 licenses, you can't then enter that field again and have 2 different values. You can obviously update the field though. It's not required. If you set it to required, it will automatically come when you create the sale and you won't be able to move past it. I'd always recommend you set the fields to be able to be exported just for reports and similar. The unified field is an interesting one, but I'm first going to explain the objects below. So in this case, the number of licenses, I want to show that on a sale, as we mentioned before. Maybe I also want to show that on a project of work, if that happens. And I may also want to show it on a ticket as well. The unified field can be used in a case that you just want this field to go across every area of the system. So if, for example, you had a custom field for some very specific company information, you would probably want that unified so that if you set up a new project or a new ticket or similar for that company, it shows each time. In this case, I'll keep it simple. And I will save that field. So we now have a field for number of licenses. Now, if I go back to my progressions options here, and this is my new customer field. What I'll say is when we qualify the lead, so when we go from lead to in contact, I want to update the field, and I'll now be able to select that custom field that I've just set up. So here, number of licenses. I'll say that it's required at that point as well. If you don't see the field to be able to select there are 2 possible reasons for that. One is you've already used it in that progression. So if I tried to update the field again and add it again, I wouldn't be able to. Or you didn't select that option to make it exclusive. So let's add a new sale just quickly. and that field doesn't show up because I said I don't need it on creation. I've got a task here automatically set because of my progressions in the system to review the initial sales documents. And that's created a new sale in the system. Now, when I qualify this lead, that's the progression, which I said that I wanted to pick the number of licenses and make it required, which is this red marker here. So I will say we want 15 licenses. And I'm going to skip a few parts of the process here. You would normally go through to quote requested, quote sent, and you normally build a quote up in the system. What I'm going to do here is just create a related project straight away, just for the sake of demonstration. So when I create a project here, and just fill out a few of the required fields. So we now have a project in the system, and you'll also see here that it relates to the example custom fields sale, which is the related sale that I created this from. And in this details tab, we have the number of licenses, which also shows down the side now here as well. So that's transferred from the sale to the project because of the way we set that custom profile field up. The other advantage here is if we go to our sales list, the filters come into play here as well. So we have all of our standard filters here. Under the More tab, we can also then pick profile fields such as number of licenses, and then quickly and easily search, for example, where there are more than 10 licenses, which will show that our one has 15. This filter field is dynamic, so if you put a date field on, you'll be able to say before this date, after this date. Because this is a number field, you could say more than or less than. If it was a drop-down field, you'd have the options to pick from here. So hopefully that helps for tips and tricks for custom fields. There